Welcome everyone to this edition of the Next Gen Morning Commute. This is our special Easter show. I'm Clemence and I'm hosting this show today with Marcus. Marcus, what are you looking forward to this weekend?
Morning, Clem. Yeah, very good. Thank you. This end, I'm looking forward to a few days off. If I'm honest, I'm absolutely exhausted. So today's show coming up, we've got Chris Budd's Financial Wellbeing Thought for the Day, which as ever is brought to you by the Initiative for Financial Wellbeing. We've got an interview with Daniel Murdoch from Succession, who's taking on a great challenge for charity. And we've got our gardening feature, where Will Robbins will today be joined by Jennifer Ellis. We've got a first of our new crafting features coming to you today from Gretchen in her shed. And she'll be bringing you creative things to do over the bank holiday weekend. But before all that, we do have Will on the news desk coming to you from Model Advisor. What have we got on the news today, Will?
Hello. Well, here's the news. Right. Right. Always do the markets. I do the markets every day, but it's the news underlying the markets that's interesting, not necessarily the markets reaction itself. The markets are up about 2.2%, but the point is that it's as a result of confidence in the fact that the coronavirus itself might be peaking in this country. And also, seemingly, there's some confidence in what might be happening in the US. So the US has been very badly hit, but investors are looking forward to the point at which the world's largest economy does reopen, and trying to position themselves for that, and hoping that there'll be obviously big gains to be had when that happens. So Donald Trump said he wanted to reopen it with a big bang. Of course he does. But yeah, we'll see what happens there. Just some news, some citywide news, but some advice news as well. One of the stories this morning is the publication of a video we've made from our first virtual event. In many respects similar to the morning commute, as it was recorded over Zoom, but we had about 300 attendees. But what was special about it was obviously we had some nice guests like Petronella West from Investment Quorum, Jane Goodman from Quilter, and Jeremy Hoyland from HFMC. But we also had one of our event speakers, a guy called Mark Stevenson. He's a futurist. He's an incredibly well-connected guy. He's the people he speaks to, people in government, Ministry of Defence, Médecins Sans Frontières. He knows a lot of stuff, and this is a big conversation obviously about what firms are doing right now to cope with the crisis, what they're doing for clients. But then we started to look at the bigger picture as well, as I say, beyond the pandemic. Mark is sort of likes to talk about what's wrong with society, what's wrong with the healthcare system, what's wrong with government, all these sorts of things. But he sort of describes himself as an optimist. So he was talking about how we need to change the way we invest, the way we need to price risk, which I thought was really interesting. And there was obviously a big connection there with ESG and that sort of thing. You know, basically, do we pay the right premiums on the right things? And obviously, he's the sort of guy who'd say we should have seen coronavirus coming, but he also says it's a warm-up for climate change. It's basically a warning for what could happen, for all sorts of things that will come from just the way we live our lives. So it was really interesting to put him in the room with some obviously really, really good advisors as well. And it was a bit of a fiery discussion, basically. And so, yeah, so our first video of that's out this morning. Just another bit of quick news. Not good news. Well, it's good news in a way. It depends how you see it. The FCA's banned an advisor called Neil Bartlett. The reason it's sort of good news is that, and it's also a colourful news for us, is that this guy got the nickname the Playboy Advisor. So he's convicted of 14 counts of fraud. Always really weird. The ban comes well after the fact they've gone to prison, but that's the way it is. But no, this guy was a real bad one. And he defrauded several people out of a lot of money as a vulnerable people, gambled it away. But anyway, but you can learn a little bit more about what's happened with him. And I think also up to date, we've got some stuff from, which I don't know we alerted yesterday, which was going up, which is from Neil Page. So not a news story per se, but he's, Neil Page is Director of Behavioural Insight from BIQ. Friend of the Initiative for Financial Wellbeing, and he's got a sort of six behavioural biases to watch out for. And that's a nice little sort of article that's gone up on NMA today. And that's it.
Thanks, Will. Instead of asking you what you're looking forward to today, I'm just going to take this opportunity to wish one of our number, Caroline Stewart, a very happy birthday. So, Clem, over to you. What's next?
Well, next we have Chris Budd and his Wellbeing Thought of the Day segment, brought to you by the Initiative for Financial Wellbeing. Over to you, Chris.
Thank you, Clem. Good morning, everybody. I thought I'd go out into Easter with a bang with the shirt. I hope it gets approval. I think I've probably gone through all of my shirts now, so you're safe from that one. A little bit of a lighter one for this week about delayed consumption. We tend to live in a society of consume now and pay later, but there's actually really good well-being to be had from doing it the other way around. Pay now, consume later. There's some research about people, two groups of people, one of which was going on holiday and one wasn't. The group that were going on holiday showed very strong well-being, anticipating the holiday, much higher than the other group. When they came back, their well-being was the same. So there's a lot about anticipation. There's another good one of people playing a video game, and half of them were told to just stop and think about how much they were going to enjoy the video game for 1 minute before they did, and afterwards they reported much higher well-being. So how can we use this? Well, what does your financial advice do, enable someone to do that they wouldn't otherwise have done? Are you planning for something? And yeah, this could be the bucket list type stuff. What are the objectives? Any specific experiences? Talk about them. Get the clients really salivating at the possibility, at the idea. Really big up that delay, that anticipation, and then mark the progress along the way to that thing. Put a picture in your report of whatever it is that they want to be doing, etc. Really make it about that, so that you get lots of well-being. Maybe even right at the moment, get you to actually buy something, buy that Airbnb that you can't actually use yet, but use it later, so you got something to look forward to in these difficult times. That's it.
Thank you very much, Chris. So what do you think we as advisors should do on top of maybe, should we talk to our clients about this?
Well, I like the idea of pictures, of naming things. So if you have an ISA pot that you're saving up for a particular thing, name it something, put it in silos, put it in boxes, and actually give it the name of the thing that you're going to be doing. So if it's going to see your kids in Canada, it's the Kids in Canada pot, not the ISA pot. Stuff like that. Make it real, bring it to life.
Thank you very much, Chris. Over to you, Marcus. What do we have next?
Thanks, Clem. Thank you, Chris. So up next is Gretchen, who's going to bring you some crafting focus and things to do for this weekend. Gretchen.
Hi everyone. Hi. So I don't know why, but I've gotten quite nervous about this. I think possibly because it's not financial planning. It's just something I do on the side and as a hobby that I really love, and it's a bit weird. So I'm going to share my screen because I've just put a couple of things together. They've given me 8 minutes, which obviously to show you how to do stuff is you know, pretty tight, so I'm not going to manage that, but I've pre-made some things, a bit of Blue Peter style going on. So I'm just going to share my screen so that I can show you my mini presentation. It's not very long, so don't worry about that very much. So I'm hoping that I can move this so that I can get to my slideshow. Is this working?
Sure is.
Excellent. So I've been asked to speak about craft. I've kind of kept Easter themed for everyone, and I just wanted to talk about the fact that, you know, for me certainly having time to craft is a really major thing in my life. Being creative, I think, keeps me sane, and there's certainly lots of research out there to show that, you know, it's very therapeutic and it helps you switch off. And I think all of us need a lot of that at the moment, with the kind of negative thoughts that we can all be having and turning those into something positive. So there's lots and lots of proof out there to say, you know, doing sort of repetitive things, be that painting or cutting things, paper craft, any kind of thing, doesn't have to be particularly skilled, but just repeating those things can really help improve your mood and improve relaxation. And, you know, certainly that's very true for me and a lot of people that I know. I can hear people saying, because I know you know, I've got people in my team going, I'm not that creative, you know, what am I going to do? I guess for me, it's what is creative. It doesn't necessarily mean that you've got to make something brilliant or perfect. It's just got to be made by you. And I think everyone needs to just make sure that there's no pressure. There's no pressure at all. So I've tried to come up with 3 projects, different skill levels and different craft supplies, because I'm quite aware that not everyone has been hoarding craft supplies like me for the apocalypse. So I tried to kind of cut that back and make it not too intense. So my first one is these superhero bunnies. It's Easter themed, but I wanted to make it a little bit more fun. So I'm going to show you a little bit about how I made those. But as you can see, I've got Superman there, Captain America, he was really good, Batman. This one on the right hand side is actually the Scarlet Witch in homage to Magenta, and I don't know if you might be able to guess the others. I'll see whether they come up on the chat. A couple of my friends on WhatsApp, we were doing that over the weekend, trying to guess which ones I was making. So, but you don't have to make them that detailed, but I'll show you roughly how to make those. Obviously they're mainly using toilet roll insides. I've got a list here of what you're going to need, so I'm going to put this up on Slack afterwards if people do want to make it, and I'll show you that actually what I'm planning on doing is giving these round my estate to the kids that are there with like Easter chocolates tucked in them, so I'll be able to show you that. The other thing is just some really simple rainbow bunting. I made some last weekend, and this is my neighbour's window now. She really went to town on her window, and I was really pleased that she wanted it and that her and her little boy used that to sort of follow that rainbow theme that everyone's got about the situation we now find ourselves in celebrating the NHS. So again, I've done a list of what you're going to need, and you might even want to write a message on your bunting. But I've got a little bit of an example of that as well. And then the other thing was just like simple idea of just painting Easter rocks or decorating them. Rock painting is something that I do quite a lot of. It's really therapeutic and really easy and simple, and you don't need much stuff. So I'll just show you a couple of those as well. And this is what you need for those. But to be honest, they're probably the easiest out of all of them, because you could just use felt pens, etc. I'm not watching the chat, so I don't know what's going on there. But anyway, so that's my little presentation of what we've got going. So I've got the glue gun on because that's quite important, but you could use normal glue as well. So to talk about the bunnies, you need one of these. You need a little template for your ears, which I just cut out of paper. There's some ears that I've cut out. So I had some green ears for one that I made just literally like a bunny. And then this one, this pink ear that I've cut out. So you'll end up with these ones, some black ears. But these ones, these pink ones, are ready for my very special next gen bunny.
Hey.
So I tried really, really hard to copy the logo of Next Gen. So you just need a little bit of glue on your ear, and then you stick it on the inside of your bunny. There he is. He's got a heart, because we all love one another and support one another. And then your bunny will be complete once you've stuck your ears on. I quite like them if they're not that even. Maybe one's longer than the other, but anyway, so there's my Next Gen bunny now complete with his logo. So the eyes and mouth were probably something people might be wondering about. So here's just an example of some that I painted, you know, literally on black and then a little bit of a white top. But I did think, you know, if you're not that crafty, you could use googly eyes. I've got some in there that some they could be crazy big ones like this. I always think that's really funny. With my nephew always likes massive eyes on everything, don't they? So that's quite funny. And then Batman here, I said that I'd show you. He's full of chocolate eggs in a little bag. So he'll be going to Ollie opposite to say Happy Easter, and I'll probably do that with a few of them close up. Then Captain America's super easy because it's just blue, and I like his shield. And of course, I've got Wonder Woman, who I will keep and put in the studio. So the other thing is the bunting. How am I doing for time? Okay. Bunting was really easy. So all I did was paint a sheet of card in rainbow colours. Really, really simple. Everyone's been doing it. You could use pen, you can use paint, you could use Sharpies, pretty much anything. And you'll see on here I've marked how to cut out your bunting. So then you end up with triangles like this. I've very handily got a hole punch that's got a heart in it, because, you know, I'm a a crafty girl, but other people might just use a screwdriver or whatever. Hole punch, and then some string, can be as fancy or not fancy as you like, to thread through to make your bunting. And ultimately, I think it would be quite nice to have like a message on here, so you could use a Sharpie to kind of like, my one on my front, in my front window says "Stay safe," you know, stay in. So I think it's kind of a nice theme on from all of these rainbow ideas, and something that the kids would see as a little bit different. Okay, and then really quickly with my Easter eggs. So rocks are pretty easy to come by. Everyone can still go out for a walk. For God's sake, don't go to the beach, but I'm sure that you can find some around, hopefully, where you are. Or if not, you've probably got gravel or some sort of gravel in your garden. So this one I just literally did with felt pens. It's not great, actually. It was probably my worst disaster one, that one. This one has got a few sequins on, etc. Got the glue going. This one I painted a little bit more with some flowers. You could use a variety of things. There are such a thing as a dotting tool. So I do pretty big painting on rocks normally. This is one that's not an Easter theme, but is in my gardens, varnished, and then could be outside. But equally, you could do it on a really small one as well. But a dotting tool can help with doing things like this, but actually earbuds work really well. You don't need to have any kind of fancy tool. Nail polish works really well. So anyone's got loads of old nail polish hanging around, all their girlfriends and wives, that can work as well. So that's kind of where I'm at. That's all I've prepared, but I'm more than happy to show people more if they really want to make something. And you know, there's so much stuff online, so go for it, be creative and get involved with the kids. And if you haven't got kids like me, make for someone else, because everyone appreciates it. So,
great, thank you. That's just been fantastic. I know you haven't been watching the chat, but I have, and people have absolutely loved it. There's calls for you to run for president. Suggested that Magenta should perhaps bring out a pop-up financial plan, so I think that's a great idea. So next up, Clem is going to interview our special guest for today, Dan from Succession. Clem.
Hi Dan, and hello everyone. So we have Dan here today on the show because he is training for an unusual event for charity, and his training has been somewhat impacted by the current situation. So interested to hear how Dan is adapting. So first of all, Dan, welcome to the show, and can you please tell us first how you came to a career in financial planning?
Thanks, Clem. Yeah, probably like many similar stories around the room, is just fell into financial planning, got a sort of admin assistant role, started doing the exams and just fell in love with it. So then went on to paraplanning and became a financial planner about sort of 2-3 years ago, and now just trying to become chartered. But yeah, just falling into it and then falling in love with it, really.
Great, thanks. So can you please tell us a bit more what you're training for and which charity you're supporting?
So I'm doing Inverness Strictly Come Dancing. It's a program that's been on the go for about 11 years now. It's supporting the local Highland Hospice, and I was at it last year with one of our clients was actually doing it, and we took a few clients along as a bit of business development. And after a couple of glasses of wine, I decided that I could also do it and do it very well, which has become a bit of a challenge in itself. So from never having any dancing experience to now having to dance 3 times a week has been exceptionally challenging.
So how have you adapted your training to the lockdown, because you can't go to the studio anymore?
Yeah, so we were supposed to have the finals in May, and our COVID experience actually started sort of the end of January, because most of the outfits usually come from China. So that they got stopped before anything else. But in terms of what we've been doing, we've been trying to keep up to date with some Zoom calls. My flatmate is now getting seriously annoyed with me asking to do TikTok videos and to help me out with the training, and also just doing some of the online videos. Anton de Beek, who was actually supposed to be one of the judges for the final, he does an online class on YouTube, if anyone's interested in joining in.
Great, thanks. So we're really looking forward to hear how that goes then eventually. Can you then let us know how we can support you in this charity?
Yeah, I've got a Just Giving page. So one of the other things that is being curtailed by COVID, I had a big fundraiser planned for last Friday, but of course there's no mass gatherings going on, so that's had to be rearranged for September. But I do have a Just Giving page, which I'll share on the chat. I was asked by Adam if I could share some moves as well, but I don't have enough space behind me, fortunately enough, this morning to be doing so. But I've got a YouTube video that I've been using as well for how to do the Charleston, which in case any of you are interested in.
All right, thank you very much, Daniel. Over to you, Marcus. What's our next segment?
Thanks, Glenn. So next up, we've got our long-awaited gardening focus. Robbins. Will's joined today by Jennifer Ellis, who I think has been waiting out in the cold for the whole of the show so far. So, Will, it's Bank Holiday weekend. What are you going to be focusing on?
What am I going to be focusing on? Yeah, so we've got, I was having to plant a lot of things, and obviously difficult to getting hold of seeds and things. But it's April, so there are some things, sort of little sort of herbs and plants you can be planting. So we've got some spinach, some rocket that's going to go in, and also we've got a greenhouse just built, which I was going to try and show you my greenhouse. I'll do that in a minute. Which we're going to try and get some cucumbers and tomatoes in there as well. Those are all, I understand, good April plants.
Incredible, thank you. And so Jen, how are you coming in today? Are you coming to us live from the rhubarb patch as we speak?
I'm out in the garden, yes, and I'll just take you over to the rhubarb. There's not much growing in the garden because it was -5 in the Highlands last night. Not quite. I'm not quite in the Highlands, but I'm on the border. But my rhubarb is growing, so we are live in the rhubarb patch right now. Hopefully, you can see that.
Yeah, you can. Jen, we seem to be losing your video a bit, but we got most of the audio. Will, can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can, and I want to sort of weigh in on the rhubarb actually, because I need to. I mean, it has captured the imagination of literally hundreds of financial planners, my rhubarb. But I want to know we about forcing, and maybe Jennifer will be able to explain a little bit about that. But I grew some lovely rhubarb last year, and then this year I tried to force it using this bucket method, which apparently so the point of the forcing is it obviously they're looking for light, so you basically put them in the dark and they grow taller. I thought it was supposed to make them grow redder and richer, but I took the bucket off yesterday and I just had this, and you can see this sort of long, pale, sort of hollow thing, which is sort of inedible anyway. So I don't know. So I took the that's just a thing, so that's different. So I took the bucket off. So I don't know whether if anyone has any tips on whether I need to put my bucket back on, or whether I need to sort of cut a hole in it or something like that. That would be great. That's what I'm wrestling with at the moment in my garden. Wrestling with the rhubarb.
Well, we certainly welcome any tips for anyone else who has any more of a clue in the chat. Adam thinks he might have planted celery, Will. So
it's not. You can see that. Well, it's not. Okay, yeah. It's not celery. It does look like it looks, but it doesn't look exactly like celery. It's hollow and pale. So maybe I did. Yeah.
For those of us who want to get in on the rhubarb game, is it too late now? Do we have to wait till next year?
I think maybe a little bit late. Possibly, I have to say, yeah. I've reached you've reached the limits of my rhubarb knowledge there. But I mean, we had that. we had that in from last year. I mean, and I think it's I think you pretty much have to plant it in the winter. Right. But Google it, guys. Check it out. I don't know, but it does it takes a while to grow though, which is why you need to sort of try and force it and so on. But mine doesn't look anywhere near as good as Jennifer's. So kind of hoping she'll be able to weigh in and explain what I did wrong.
I do nothing to mine. It just grows.
Yeah.
Once you plant it, it's probably the first year is not good, but then about a second year it just grows for without doing anything to it. I think the other thing I would recommend is courgettes. If anyone wants to grow something in a pot or in their garden, they're so easy to grow. but not from seed. Get plug plants; they're much better, and you will have endless courgettes as long as you've got good recipes for lots of courgettes.
I'm just going to weigh in. If we've got one last thing, is I just want to talk about figs. So the fig tree it's a nice. If you ever want to grow figs, it's just an interesting thing. We planted the tree last year, and you get nothing from it. And I just find it interesting. So the figs, you get these little figs, it's tiny little things, and then they don't sort of ripen or drop. It takes basically 2 years to grow a fig, and then in the winter they just shrivel. And they look like they're black and shrivelly, like a black shivery thing. And it looks like you really want to pick them off. You don't pick them off, and if you don't pick them off, they sort of come back to life a little bit for the second year, and they start to look a little bit, there you go, a little bit fig-like, like that. And you'll be able to eat them. We had a couple last year, actually, I think from the year before, and they're delicious, like proper legitimate figs. And we've got a sort of big yield coming through. So if that's sort of very low maintenance, long burn sort of plant, I'd recommend you get involved with figs. That's my tip.
Thanks, Will. Much as I think you lost your rhubarb crown, you seem to have regained the fig tomato.
The fig crown, yeah.
Well done. Thank you, Will, and thank you, Jennifer. Thanks for standing out in the cold for us. So that just about wraps up today's show. But before we go, Clem, can you tell us about what we've got coming up on Tuesday?
Yes, Marcus, on Tuesday we've got a closer look at the impact of furloughing with Tommy Bell and Tony Bates, and we will be also introducing a new co-host, as well as our usual features that we have during the week.
So as it's the bank holiday weekend, we won't be having live shows either tomorrow, Friday, or on Monday. Instead, we'll be issuing a show with pre-recorded interviews and highlights from the first 2 weeks, so you can still get your fix of the day commute. So everyone, we're just about wrapping up. Thank you very, very much for joining us. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you Tuesday. Cheers. Bye-bye.
Bye.